Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising BIDness Talk. My name is Patrick Siver. I'm the lead auctioneer and owner here at G Events LLC, based in Beaverton, Oregon, where we specialize in fundraising auctions and also fundraising golf tournaments. It's a beautiful day in Portland, and in the Beaverton area, you're probably getting all fired up to watch the Live Golf Series on your YouTube channel here. It's going to be right here in town at Pumpkin Ridge. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it's going to be great. Whatever happens, it's always fun to watch. I am honored today to have a special guest. We've been on a roll here with special guests, and I got a real special one for you today. Scott and I go back, I don't know, probably 10 years. He owns a company called Ace Hole in One out of Florida. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Scott Malatesta. Scotty, how are you?
Patrick, I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much. And greetings from the South all the way up to the Pacific Northwest there. And we're excited to be with you today and talk golf and talk about charity golf as well. So
absolutely. I mean, that's a great thing. I mean, you're in, although I got to tell you, I think I might have better weather than you do in Florida today. It's going to be a peak of about 79, 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, zero humidity. And, I mean, we may not have your beach, right? But it's pretty good golf weather here.
Well, you got us beat down here. You know, we got 94 with about almost an 80% humidity and driving rain this afternoon. So I'll give you your one day out there where you don't have any rain. But yeah, it's been hot as can be down here.
Hey, it's funny you say that, because doing what I've done for the last 30 some odd years, working in golf and stuff, I laugh and I joke with my buddies that work for the PGA Tour and for other places, how many times they're in a rain delay. And I'm watching, last year's golf tournament on the big screen here in the lodge. And, and I look outside, they're in a rain delay. I look outside and it's perfect here. Right. So, I mentioned the Live series, all politics aside, opinions aside, don't even want to get into it. But they're going to show Pumpkin Ridge this week, and it's going to be spectacular scenery. I was involved in producing the 96 US Amateur at Pumpkin Ridge when Tiger won his third, and the 97 Women's Open there at Pumpkin Ridge. And neither one of those championships ever had a rain delay, right? And it's funny. So it'll be great stuff. It'll be great stuff. But let's talk about, you said it a second ago, charity golf, and that's what we talk about here on Fundraising BIDness Talk. We're always trying to help organizations, maximize their opportunity to raise money for their organization and further the missions that they are so true to in making our communities better places to live and work. And part of that is fundraising golf tournaments, and golf tournaments are a wonderful way to help your charity make more money. And one of the components in doing that, I think, isn't just an automatic, is to have special contests out on the golf course and to, have hole-in-one competitions, maybe putting challenges and things of that nature. And if you're going to do those things, folks, then you need to have hole-in-one insurance and insure those risks. And so, Scott, as we get started, would you share with everybody in our audience a little bit about your background? I know you started with GM and in the hole-in-one insurance industry. Tell us about how all that came about.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. I spent 25 years with General Motors, with the corporation, in the marketing and sales, throughout the divisions, Chevrolet, Buick GMC, and Cadillac at the time. And we only had one, if you could believe it, for my 25 years there, we had one hole-in-one company that supported all of the General Motors dealerships across the country. And at that time, there were 9,000 rooftops around. Wow. And I just saw a need there. I saw, obviously a competitive need to have a dealer have a choice. And I was in Atlanta, Georgia, beautiful Atlanta, and really enjoyed my time there. Moved all across the country. In fact, moved 8 times with my family. And at that point in time, they were wanting me to go back to Detroit, which is my hometown. And, my wife had said to me, "Hey, if you go back, you're going by yourself." So I took that with a grain of salt, and we made the move to Tampa, where her parents are from, and we started Ace Hole in One. And it's been about coming up on 10 years now since we made that. And we're really focused, like you said, on charities. You know, we work with a lot of great charities. You know, one that comes to mind, the Ernie Els Foundation, where we're ingrained with them doing their hole-in-one competitions across the country. And that is something that's near and dear to our heart. But we support hundreds of them throughout the year. And like you said, Patrick, it's just a great way to drive money to the bottom line and to help people in need. And that's what we're about. We're about, you know, underwriting that insurance. And I'm sure we'll get into some of the ways to do that. But that's really what we're all about here at Ace Hole-in-One. And we really pride ourselves on doing that and doing it great, a great job across the country.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And you've done great work for us with the Scott and Kim for Plank Foundation, the Brandon Whedon Foundation, and some of the events that I'm involved here in Portland with, whether it's First Tee or the Walsh Construction Group, any of the groups that we're involved with, we always reach out immediately to our buddies at Ace Hole-in-One, and you in particular, because we know that, you know, we're going to get a quality insurance. You're going to stand behind it, right?
Right.
And that's important, right? Because there are some insurance companies out there, just like in the industry, that you always, you know, you're always wondering, right? What's going to happen? And we gave away an F-150 a couple of years ago down there at Scott's event, or
We sure
Scott's
did.
event. And that was classic. Your old buddy John Vance, he actually tossed the keys. He said, "Did Malatesta insure this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Then give the guy the keys. He can drive it home today." You know,
Yeah.
it was classic. Old John Vance. That was fun stuff. So hey, I think when our audience, and I do want to tell folks, you know, please reach out, say hello, tell us where you're tuning in from today, and also feel free to ask any questions that come up, whether they're on topic or off. Feel free to ask them. We'd be more than happy to answer them. Throw them up here on the screen, and we'll chat about that. I know we've got a couple of comments, gentlemen. I'm not sure where he's coming in from, but he's timing in. He said hello. I can't even pronounce his name. Joel is joining us today, and we're talking hole-in-one insurance at fundraising charity golf tournaments. So anyhow, so, you know, one of the things that I think about all the time, Scott, that I know just because I've been in the business as long as I have, is that I think most organizers of tournaments think that they have to go out and get their car dealerships involved. And many times that's been the way it's worked for many years. You mentioned, you know, you were doing it on the car dealership side, on the manufacturer side. And that's not always the case. I mean, with hole-in-one insurance, we can basically insure any prize, correct?
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about it is that we have you know, for the my whole career in the automobile and the hole-in-one industry, you know, when you think about golf tournaments and you see the PGA Tour and you see the golf course, they automatically, Patrick, pan over to the automobile. They
Yeah.
show the automobile. You know, Patrick Tyler can win this automobile with a hole-in-one, or he actually won this automobile with a hole-in-one. So you see them
Right.
out on the water displayed, the Honda Classic, the Hyundai event, Genesis event. They're all over the place. So people always think about, hey, I've got to have a automobile at our event. And oftentimes on the board of directors or on the board for that tournament, you'll have an automobile dealer. They'll hook up with the Boys and Girls Club. They'll hook up with, you know, Els for Autism. They'll hook up with all these because they're charity minded, Patrick. They want to help. They
Yeah.
want to be involved. They want to give back. So it makes it
Right.
an easy transition to get an automobile out there. But what we're seeing is a lot of now tournament directors, people like yourself that are putting on events, say, hey, you know what? We don't necessarily have to have a vehicle out there. And in relationship to having a charity involved, what's nice now, and we've talked about this before, is that with a cash prize, so the tournament director could call us and say, hey, Scott, at Ace Hole-in-One, what can you guys do for us outside of a vehicle? Well, we can insure cash. So if you put down, say, instead of a $50,000 vehicle, you put down $50,000 in cash. I go back and always tell the same story. You can't take a saw and saw a chainsaw, a vehicle in half and give half to the charity and half to the player. But with a
Right.
cash prize, you can do that. You can give half to the winner and you can give back half to the charity. So it's a real win-win, because that charity, as you know, at the end of the day is just driving money to help operate, to help fund, and to help take care of their cause.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's great. I think one of the things, Scott, that got me going down that pathway, at least got me to start thinking about it, was an experience. It was not an ace hole in one event. It was not an event I was running, but I had a very dear friend, Eric DeLong, who went off and made a hole in one in a charity event here in town, and won a $139,000 Porsche. Okay. And, jumping out of his skin, excited about it, right?
Yep.
Until he realized he now he owed the federal government a percentage of that number for his taxes on getting that prize, right?
Right.
And so, all of a sudden I thought to myself, as I was thinking about the people who play in our golf tournaments, I was thinking to myself that, yeah, it would be all sorts of fun to jump up and down and think I just won this $140,000 car, until I realized I owed 60 or 70,000 to the government on it, right? And now
Right.
all of a sudden I need to sell the car to pay for to pay my taxes on it. So then so for me, that's when my brain started clicking and thinking, the reality is, I know from when I talked to you about insuring a hole in one, you're not really interested whether it's a Porsche or a Chevy pickup, right? You want to know the value. And so that value is what is crucial, because that's really what you're insuring. And so, the concept of turning around and splitting a cash prize with the beneficiary, the nonprofit, and then the person who makes a hole in one is a home run. I mean, that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's really the way to go, and combine that, Patrick, with what's happening in the automobile industry, with the chip shortage and the shortage of vehicles, and a lot of these dealers across the country find themselves strapped as far as inventory goes. So if they let a vehicle out for 2 or 3 days at a golf tournament, that's 2 or 3 days that they don't have a chance to sell that vehicle. And with limited, and I mean, I can't underscore the word limited enough, with no
Right.
inventory across the country right now, those dealers
Yeah.
are sometimes in the mindset of saying, "Hey, Patrick, I really can't help this year." Well, lo and behold, Ace Hole in One will step up, and through the tournament director, we can switch that into a cash prize, and come out even better if there is a potential winner.
Yeah, exactly. And we can even do what we got creative, what we did at Scott's event this year down in Oklahoma City. We've worked with Bob Howard's Auto Group there for many years, and with Steve Hudeberg, and along with Johnny Vance, and they were kind enough to say, we would put up a certain model of Mercedes for Mr. Howard's company. And so what we did was we took some images and then we insured that amount, right? And
Yeah.
we use those images to create the sign. So, if you do have that car dealer involved and you want to continue to show your support of them, there's nothing wrong with creating the signage so that it showcases the vehicle that the person would have a credit toward. I think you mentioned that to me before, that sometimes the dealership will say, hey, we'll give a 20 or 30 or 40, $50,000 credit toward the purchase of a car. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yeah, no, 100% right. And I'll just put it in perspective for everybody out there. Let's just say that you're a sedan driving person, and you drive a four-door sedan. You've driven a four-door sedan for the rest of your life, and you go, or for the balance of your life, and you go in and you win a pickup truck. Well, that person really doesn't want a pickup truck, right? I mean,
Right.
so they want a sedan as a small example. So
Yeah.
we try not to force anything on, and the dealers are about the same now. They understand that if they have a sport utility out there and somebody wants to come in and buy a sedan or a convertible, then that's where we start to really be flexible in what we do. We offer money towards the purchase, and it makes everybody happy. It makes the dealer happy because they may not have the vehicle in stock. It makes the winner happy because they get a choice of what they do, and the charity wins as well as not having to put up with any type of problems in the process.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey, one of the things that I want to talk about, we've talked a little bit about cars, and there's obviously some challenges. Sometimes, a lot of times, a nonprofit may not have a connection to a dealership, may not be able to access the right person, decision maker at that dealership. You usually don't find the main dealer's name on the website with an email, right? And so
Right.
I find a lot of our smaller organizations who don't have access to a dealer, they've kind of stepped out of the game, and I think that that's unfortunate, right? Because we're insuring, we can create a prize to fit that organization and their event and their budget, right? I mean,
Yep.
if somebody's charging $50 to play in their golf tournament, to have a $100,000 car sitting out there and insuring it for 144 players probably doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But
Right.
if they're charging $2,500 to play in their golf tournament, then yeah, you. But my point is when you get creative, you can insure any amount, and so that reflects in the budget and how much that organizer is going to spend. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. And Patrick, the organizers now are getting really smart, because what they want to do and what we want to do as a company at Ace Hole in One is we want to be able to tailor the prize to the geographical area. As an example, in Miami, here in Florida, a lot of times you'll have a boat, a yacht, a something like that. Some of the other areas, we do Rolex watches, we
Right.
do Indian motorcycles, we do Harley Davidson, we do plane plane hour credit. So
Right.
there's just a plethora of things that we do, and we customize that for each tournament. And to your point, it comes to the point where the tournament director doesn't always have that connection at the dealership. And for whatever reason, they may be timid to reach out to the dealer principal, the owner, because they think like this person is, a zillionaire and they can't be touched and things like that. And I got to tell you that the most of the dealer principals that I know that have ownership are always willing to give back to the community. They have
Yeah.
big hearts
Yeah.
to do so, and they always want to. But if not, and any of the tournament directors or anybody that's out there that's talking about a charity event that's listening to us today, feel free to let your mind go out there and think about what's best for your event. Is it a motorcycle? Is it a watch? Is it a diamond ring? Anything like that can be insured, and we make it really, really easy for everybody to do that.
Well, yeah, and you know what I find, Scott, because in all of these things, the flexibility of that also allows us to be flexible with who the sponsor is, right? So, whereas before we thought need a car dealer, okay? We
Right.
don't necessarily have to have a car dealer to be the sponsor, right? We can do that boat and have it be a real estate agent that's the sponsor. We could do, we could do all sorts of different things there and get creative, right? And I'm going to encourage our audience to think about what a great prize that would make your tournament. Because Scott, I always am a little sensitive to letting the sponsor determine the prize, right? Because
Yep.
I'm kind of sensitive to, I want to be able to promote that prize as I am promoting participating in our event, as I'm telling people about our event. I don't want to wait till a week before when the dealer says I can get you, an F-150 versus this car versus that car, because I can't promote it then, right? But if I can say, hey, we have a $50,000 prize on each hole in one on each par three, or we're giving away a trip on every par three, we're whatever it is. Now I can go out to people and I can ask them to be the sponsor of that, knowing that we're already promoting and that prize is going to be appealing to our audience that's participating in our event.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. We just had one where a local car wash was involved. So, the main thing there, and for the audience listening today, is as an example for the car wash, if it's the Ace Hole in One car wash that's sponsoring the main prize hole, they get we also, part of our business is we supply signage for the entire tournament. So on that signage was the car wash. So they get eyeballs all day long, 144 players, plus they get to see that, Patrick's Car Wash is sponsoring this hole. And then next to that, the hole-in-one prize is $25,000 towards a vehicle of your choice. So Patrick, if you're up in Oregon there and you make the hole-in-one, you're getting 25 grand to go into the Ford store, to the Bentley store, to the Buick store, to the BMW store, anywhere you want to go. And that flexibility, we call it having hinges on our flexibility, that we're able to adapt like that to any tournament to get that win-win attitude out of the tournament director and the players.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think the customization, I think people really leave, they don't open their minds enough, I guess. And what we have to do today is really open our minds up, and by understanding what hole-in-one insurance is, I think you can get a lot more creative and create something that really benefits your tournament, and hopefully put some money in your pocket for your nonprofit. Give me a sense, Scott. Is there, how often do you pay out? I mean, do you, just for the random people that are joining us today? I mean, what's a I guess in your world a bad year, but it's really not. I mean, you're like me. As soon as it's insured, it's not you're coming out of your pocket, right? I mean, I always tell the superintendent, make the hole accessible. Just make sure we meet the yardage, right? And we'd love to give away another F-150 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we have this conversation all the time, and for us, it's like I'd say two-edged sword, so to speak. You're happy. First of all, let me digress for a minute. I've been playing golf for my whole life,
right.
and what I would consider a good, really good golfer. I've had yet to have a hole-in-one, and my friends that are around me that are not as good have had up to 4 hole-in-ones. So when we start talking about it and we're having a drink around each other, I get asked all the time, and the ratio is about 1 in 14,500 shots on a par 3. Will you have a hole-in-one? So it's not impossible. It happens, and I'll give you a flavor. It's about, for those of you that are business minded, it's about between 1 to 2% of your book of business. So we do. Right now, Patrick, we're on track to do about 1,200 events this year across the country. So you could see at 1%, that's about 12. At about 2%, we're talking about 24 hole-in-ones out of the event. It's a lot of shots because out of those 1,200 events, you could say that it's an average of 100 shots or 144 shots. But that's about the average. So it's a lot better than playing the lottery. It's a lot better than a lot of events, but it's hard to do. So, we keep it at that. We pay out, and not only, those 12 to 24 are not just the main prize hole. And at Ace Hole-in-One, as you know, on a 4-part course, you're going to have a main prize, and we'll talk about when you get there, and we'll have bonus prizes. So these players may get the main prize hole for the vehicle, or they may get another prize throughout the day.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about what you're doing. And for me, I'm always interested in insuring every par 3 if I can, right? And but a lot of groups can't do that. They might just have one hole that they're doing the par 3 hole-in-one, and they have a main prize. And that's one of the things I love about what you do, Scott. Help our audience understand. So if I'm a small event and I can only insure let's say a $50,000 prize on one hole, Ace Hole-in-One gives me prizes for the other holes just as part of the gig, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And I go back to, as an owner, as a company owner, and which is very important, a golfer, and with a background of automobiles. I mean, it's just, I'm very golf minded, and what you don't want to have happen, Patrick, if you and I are out there playing in a group of a foursome, and we get to the main prize hole, and you put it in the hole and you win the truck, and that's the first hole-in-one that you've made in your entire life. So we're high-fiving, we're wondering about who's going to pick up the bar tab and all that kind of great stuff. And then we get to the back 9, and we get to a par 3, And lo and behold, I knock it in the hole for my first hole in one of my entire life. And I am just as excited. But in a lot of tournaments that aren't underwritten by our company, they may not have what we call bonus prizes. And what we do at Ace Hole in One is we outfit all par threes on the course. So if you insure the $50,000 vehicle, we in turn come out on our own dime and insure the other par threes on the course. So currently right now, we've got TaylorMade Stealth Driver, we've got Southwest Airline tickets, we've got Apple products there. And we just want to make sure that if there are multiple hole-in-ones for the day, that nobody goes home empty-handed, because it is, as we have in our logo and as we have in our tagline, an opportunity of a lifetime. And that's exactly what it is. I just don't want to have anybody go home empty-handed, because I would hate for myself to go home empty-handed at any tournament when I made my first hole-in-one. It would be like a stab in the face, you know?
Oh, it'd be awful, but I'd have a cocktail on you. No
yeah,
question
absolutely.
about it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give me a sense, Scott, for our audience once again. What's ideal? They can reach out to you at aceholein1.com, acehio.com is the website. And how soon should they reach out to you? I would present that they should reach out to you as soon as they're thinking about doing their event, so they could put this sponsorship opportunity into their inventory. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's fair. And I think in any type of event, any type of business event, sooner is better. We have people, in fact, we just wrote a quote today for a September event, and we're sitting here just touching July. So, sooner is better. It gives you time to, like you said, and here's a great example, Patrick. We send out sign proofs to the tournament directors, and on those sign proofs, it'll show their logo, it'll show the prize, and they can get out and advertise way in front of the tournament by saying and adding value to that tournament by showing the signs, showing the prizes. And you know what? That may just trigger that extra person to say, you know what, man, I could win a $50,000 vehicle, or man, the golf clubs are out there this year, and every hole is covered. So we like to, in a perfect world, we'd love to have 30 days. But what ends up happening in our industry is probably about 10 days before we get working, and everybody gets lathered up because they want to get everything protected and signs done. And we've done, and to be honest with everybody out there, we've done stuff 2-3 days before the event. It's just a matter of being able to FedEx the signs, get everything all bound and taken care of. So we're really quick on it. And one unselfish plug, if they want to reach us directly, they can come to Scott at acehio.com, Patrick. So Scott at
ACE. Absolutely. I've got it right here, and I was going to put up the info one, but I'll just make it Scott now. And there it is. So
that's it,
just send you an email directly and get working on it, folks. I mean, I think one of the things that I've just kind of made a standard process for all of our nonprofit events that I'm doing is that I want to see a 10 or 20 or 30, 40, $50,000 prize on each par three on the golf course, and insure the entire field for that. And then what I'll do is, because a lot of times, you already said, 1 in 14,000 rounds, do you actually have one happen? But what I like to do is make the closest to the pin for each one of those par threes that day eligible for a very special hole-in-one prize, maybe $100,000 or $1 million hole-in-one prize, and do that on the 18th green, regardless if it's a par 4 or a par 5 or a par 3, because not only are we insuring an amount of money, we're insuring a distance, right, Scott? So we can get creative with, I like to use 18 if it's visible from the after golf gathering, right? If you're having a little social hour after the golf, maybe a luncheon, maybe a dinner, whatever. But I love to have the 4 competitors who got the 4 closest to the pins on the par threes. And then I'll let the sponsor randomly pick one person. So we'll insure 5 contestants to try one shot for a hole-in-one for a super prize. Once again, splitting that with the nonprofit. and you guys have been phenomenal in saying, just tell us, here's the different prices for the different yardages, and we pick one to fit our budgets. Is you're doing that a lot now, aren't you?
Yeah, we are, and I got to tell you, Patrick, that's a feather in your cap for the way that you handle your business, because at the end of the day, as a promoter, as somebody that's the head of the event, you can have all the holes covered, but one of the things that you could do is you could kind of self-promote this, what we call a shootout, towards
Right.
the end, and you could call it the Boys and Girls Club of Oregon Shootout, and you could promote that, or you could say Patrick's Car Wash Shootout at the end. And anybody on those par fours, the four closest people could take a shot for $1 million, for $100,000 on 18. And the nice thing about it, like you said, the majority of the tournaments that we see, they will have the tournament, and then after the tournament, if it's a morning tournament, they'll end with lunch. If it's an afternoon tournament, they'll end with dinner. And there's no more exciting factor in the tournament than to be done with your event, and they call your name as one of the four people that are closest to the pin, come out to 18. People are out there with their drink of choice. They all huddle around 18, and they watch the four people shoot out for $100,000, for $1 million, or whatever. It's just exciting. It's fun, and it gets people excited to come back for the next year. So those are some great things. And then second to that, you can do the same thing with a putting contest. Those four people that are closest to the pin, you could bring them back for a 60-foot putt, and somebody drains that, and they make money. So it's all about really taking care of the charity, number one, and number two, building the value and excitement for the people that are in your event so that they want to come back. They talk about it with their friends. Man, this tournament was great. I'll tell you why. That's really the excitement you want to build.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's incredible. The flexibility. Talk to me more about the putts, because I've done a few of it back in my days with the Albertsons Boise Open on what's now the Corn Ferry Tour. We used to draw a couple of lucky shoppers to stand up on the 18th green on Sunday after the final putt is dropped, and we had a $10,000 or $100,000 putt that they could make from 20 feet, and so the grandstands were all there and everybody was hanging out, and we'd have the CEO putt once, and then we would have we'd have these lucky shoppers do it. It's a fun deal, but people do it on 18. People do it before golf too, right? With a lucky putt.
Yeah, I mean, that putt that you're talking about, Patrick, that gives us the most flexible piece of what we do, because you have to think about it. And I'll give you some examples here, what we just recently did. We've done one at a casino recently last month, actually here on the East Coast. They putt from a 50-foot rollout mat into a cup. And at that point in time, they were putting for a dollar amount. We just had to go along with the kickoff to the college football season coming up here. We had an event at a local country club here, a local golf club, where we had two people. They went through a 10-person shootout at the end, like you're referring to. The two people that were closest went on the green and putt from 60 feet to win $10,000. So it can be done at a dealership to win a vehicle. It can be done at a grocery store to win groceries for a week. It can be done at a jewelry store. It can be done anywhere to drive traffic into the business. So we're keen on, in the automobile industry, of putting butts in seats, getting you to come into the dealership to look around. And it's the same thing for jewelry stores, for automobile washes, for any type of retail business out there that can drive people into their business by making a putt, by doing something that's golf related. And we just put a lot of value into that for businesses.
Well, absolutely. And it's also a great way for you to promote your upcoming charity golf tournament, right?
Yeah.
Allow people have some type of promotion, partner with one of your sponsors, whether it's a car dealer or a real estate agent, somebody with a retail storefront. Grocery store is fantastic.
Yep.
And host a hole-in-one type of putt golf promotion, and bring more awareness to your charity and your upcoming charity event.
That's right.
There's just so many there's so many flexible ideas and cool things for people to think about. and really you can do it on any budget, right? Is that a fair statement?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's really fair. A lot of people out there think like hole-in-one insurance is really, really expensive. And depending on what you do, we do business sub $200 all the way up to $40,000 worth of insurance. So,
Right.
we really, and for the people that are listening today, we really focus on two things, Patrick. It's really the number of players and the amount that's insured. So if you're flexible with those things, oftentimes you're not flexible with the number of players because the charities want to maximize and bring as many people to the golf course as they possibly can. But
Right.
the dollar amount and the prize value is very flexible, and that's what we're
Yeah.
here for at Ace Hole in One, to be able to be flexible and be able to cater to the budget and the needs of the charities. Because as you know, the charities really don't want to spend money. They want to make
Right.
money. They want to support what they're doing, and we're here to be able to do that in a inexpensive way and to give value, a lot of value to each tournament.
Well, and it's a fixed cost, right? So, I
That's
mean,
right.
like we said earlier, we want to give away that prize. So, so that's a huge positive. And I love your point. Create a promotion that fits the budget. And a couple of things came to mind. I've got two things before we break off here, Scott. One was one of the things that I hear all the time, having played a lot of competitive golf myself, like you. Uh, is that pros are not included in these prizes and all of those types of things. But at Ace Hole in One, if we tell you how many, whether it's Tour Pros or PGA of America professionals, you guys will incorporate that into the number, and the organization can ensure those folks to take a shot at the prize also. Correct?
Patrick, absolutely. I mean, we're busy with the PGA Tour. We're busy with all events across the country, and because we did your event out in Oklahoma, that we have PGA Tour pros there. And I think the people that are listening today just need to understand that I'll speak for Patrick on this, but we haven't played together yet. But I, as an amateur player, I am not as good as a professional player, and I'm certainly not as good as the next rung up as a tour pro. So, as we get into the tour pro status, their 1 in 14,500 chance goes to almost half of that and below because of their ability. But we do that. It's just a matter of cost. It's just a little bit more to ensure the professionals here in the United States and across the world. And we do that. We were with the L's for Autism event last year. We had a $2 million or $1 million shootout, and we had Vijay Singh there, we had John Daly there, we had Ernie there, we had the who's who of the PGA Tour, and we're watching and getting excited because we know if somebody does dunk one, it goes to one of the best charities around the country, L's
Yeah,
for Autism. So, and there's
absolutely.
several examples of that across the country, and yes, we do step up to any type of professional, whether it's female or male, across the globe.
Yeah. So folks, if you're talking to somebody in the insurance business and you find out that they don't want to insure your club pros or your tour pros playing, reach out to Scott. It couldn't be easier. It's Scott Ace HIO.com, and he'll get you a quote and get you figured up. And then the last creative idea that I wanted to share with our audience, because many of our watchers and folks that watch the replay are in the benefit auction business, right? And they also do a golf tournament with their nonprofit, but they started because we've gotten to know each other because of the auction business. And one of the tools that we use in the auction business a lot is, especially since COVID started, Scott, is consignment trips, where as COVID came on, it became harder to get people to donate their vacation homes or things of that nature. And so the appeal of the consignment trips, where there's a organization in place that will provide us with a trip to Mexico for a week, or a trip to Europe, or a trip to a special golf event or Kentucky Derby or any of that type of stuff. We call that consignment, and it's a fixed price, and we use those in the auction business. There'll be a I don't want to say minimal, but a reduced cost price to the nonprofit. and it's a great opportunity because usually we can sell those for a lot more than what we're going to buy them for. And I've recently come up with the idea to use those as hole-in-one prizes, because it's a great budget-oriented way for us to say, for example, there's a trip I've sold a lot that's a week-long trip in Mexico. Might cost a nonprofit $1,000, but it has a $5,000 value, right? And so we insure for the $5,000 prize, and and if we do, we only have to insure for 1,000, because that's what we're going to spend if if someone makes the hole in one, right?
Yeah.
And so that can help keep the cost down too. And so you can get pretty elaborate with those trips. Maybe it's a week in a villa in Italy for 10, and maybe it has a $10,000 cost, but it has a $25,000 value. It's a great way, because we're only going to insure that cost to keep the expense down for the nonprofit. Yet it makes that sponsor look like they gave a $25,000 trip, right?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, we do that often, Patrick, and it's one way for all of the listeners out there that may be struggling to get that car as a main prize, and they think they have to do a big cash value. You know, that wow factor is you and I step up to that tee on the par three, and we see a week trip to Mexico. We've been there as a family, and I understand that. You know, whether you're talking about the stay or the hotel or the plane tickets or none of those, with just a place to go and stay, you know, there's a lot of value and there's a lot of wow factor. So when you see that on the sign, you know, a week in Mexico, man, you're thinking, wow, this is great. And if you win that prize, there's a lot of value, like you said, to it. And that can be done for a lot less expensive than a lot of people think out there, because oftentimes those are donated. There's a small value, or there's small price for high value, like you say. And that's really a nice feather in the cap of any tournament that's able to put that out there.
Well, and take it a step further, Scott, you could make it a selection. Choose your destination from maybe
Absolutely.
3 or 4 or 5 different consignment trip opportunities, and insure for the most expensive one for the nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Scott, as we start to wrap up, what kind of advice would you give our listeners and viewers as they are? What do they need to pay attention to when they're shopping for hole-in-one insurance or insuring a special golf promotion?
Well, you know, I'm not going to speak about competition, but I will tell you here at Ace Hole in One, you know, we make it really easy. We have hinges on our flexibility. We're ensuring the opportunity of a lifetime. And if you're listening to this with Patrick and I today, I would just tell you this, you know, don't be afraid to reach out, you know, to myself, Scott at acehio.com, or at acehio, our website. We make it really simple. I'm a golf-minded person. I'm a charitable person. I love to get involved. You know, we kid as you go through setting up the company years ago. We talked about, you know, on Google, what are your hours? And I was joking around with the company, with the people that work for us, and I said, "Hey, we're 24/7." And they're like, "You can't put that on there." And you know, I just encourage people. We are 24/7. That's what a cell phone is for. That's what a computer is for. You know, we are accessible 24/7. We mean that. You can call anytime. You don't have to do business with us. You can use us as a sounding board. Hey, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about that? But at the end of the day, I think it boils down to, we've got a great underwriter, Lloyd's of London, that backs us up. They've been our partner for a long time. They're solid. They pay out quickly. And we just offer incredible value for the price. And we are undoubtedly the lowest cost producer in the space. We're also giving you the best value out there. So anybody that hears this today, an unselfish plug, give us a try. And if you don't believe it, price it with us. Go shop your tail off, whatever you want to do. I know you're going to be back. And Patrick, A+ to you, brother. We appreciate the opportunity to be on the show today and to be able to talk to everybody out there. I'm going to be watching tomorrow, working a little bit, and on YouTube a little bit, watching LIV out in Oregon. So,
well, you've got the dual screens, I'm sure. You know,
I
and
do.
so you got one screen on YouTube and one screen selling some hole-in-one insurance. Hey, Scott, can't thank you enough for your partnership over the last so many years. And I really encourage our friends out there If you've got a question about hole-in-one insurance, or you've got an idea and you think hole-in-one insurance or might be an opportunity for you, reach out. Ace Hole-in-One, that's acehio.com, or call Scott or reach out to Scott directly. It's Scott at acehio.com. And buddy, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Enjoy that hot, humid weather. I'm going to sit out on the patio here shortly, pretend I'm on East Coast time, and maybe crack a cold one. I appreciate all your support as always, pal. And stay out of trouble. Stay and hopefully you'll make that hole-in-one. This might be the year, buddy.
Partner, you'll be one of the first people I call when I make it, and because I'll be getting your credit card so I can pay the bar tab if I do.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, pal. All the best. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. We'll see you every Wednesday. Hey, this was a special episode. We started a little later, but every Wednesday at noon, Fundraising BIDness Talk is live right here. If you missed today's episode, you want to catch another one. All 63 of them are at fundraisingbidnesstalk.com. And as I always say, it does not matter where you start the bidding, folks. It's all about where you finish. All the best to everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.